Level 1. Delta Force, the unit. There is no public roster, no veterans association, no unit history on a government website. When you joined, your service records were pulled from the regular Army system and replaced with a generic administrative trail leading nowhere. Your family knows you do something dangerous. They don't know what. They've learned not to ask. The selection process lasted 3 weeks, but the real sift happened in the first 4 days. Land navigation with a rucksack that got heavier every day. Alone, through terrain that seemed designed to break you. No one spoke to you. No one encouraged you. You either found the points or you didn't. By the end, you weren't just tired. You were empty. And from that emptiness, they built something else. You work in a squadron of about 80 operators, but your real family is your troop, a 12-man element that functions with the precision of a single organism. There are no egos here. Egos get people killed. You train constantly, not because you have to, but because the gap between good enough and perfect is measured in the lives of hostages you've never met. Your weapons are custom built to your body, your grip, your eye. The armor you wear is lighter than standard issue because the unit buys the best. You don't think about the cost. You think about the breach. The mission comes in fragments, a location you don't recognize, a target designated only by a number. You build your kit based on climate data and the type of doors you'll be going through. The rehearsal is silent, hands-only signals in a warehouse that looks like every other warehouse. You know your role. You know the man next to you. You know that in 48 hours, this will either be a success or a memory you carry alone. You don't dwell on it. Dwelling slows you down. Level 2, 75th Ranger Regiment. You were part of a lineage that goes back to before the United States was officially a nation. Rogers Rangers, the original irregulars, fought in the French and Indian War using tactics that would become the foundation of modern special operations. Today, you carry that same mentality. You were the tip of the Army's spear, but you're also the handle. You absorb the initial shock so that everyone behind you faces less resistance. Ranger School was not the hardest thing you've ever done. It was the longest. 62 days of controlled starvation and sleep deprivation designed to simulate the worst conditions of combat. You learned to lead when your brain was fogged, to make decisions when your body was shaking from cold. The tab on your shoulder means you passed, but the real credential is the scroll, the regimental insignia that says you chose to stay. You chose to do it again and again. Your rhythm is deployment, training, deployment. You've lost count of how many times you've been downrange. The faces change, the locations blur, but the mission stays the same. Seize, raid, secure. You are experts in airborne operations, in airfield seizures, in hitting a target so fast that the enemy's first warning is your boot on their chest. You don't expect gratitude. You expect the next op order. That's enough. Level 3, U.S. Special Forces, the Green Berets. You are a problem solver in places where problems are measured in generations. Your grandfather might have fought in Vietnam. Your father might have been in the First Gulf War. You are in Afghanistan, but the country doesn't matter as much as the people. You live with them. You learn their names, their family histories, their grievances. You become a trusted outsider, which is a contradiction that takes months to earn. The ODA, your 12-man team, is a collection of the most versatile specialists on the battlefield. Your engineer can build a bridge or a bomb with equal skill. Your weapons sergeant can diagnose a malfunction in a 50-year-old machine gun that hasn't been cleaned since the Soviet withdrawal. Your medic has performed procedures that would make a civilian ER doctor faint. You cross-train constantly, because in a firefight, specialties don't matter, only results. Unconventional warfare is slow. You train a village defense force, then watch them take casualties. You train them again. You build relationships with local leaders who might be informants for the enemy. You navigate a web of loyalties that you can never fully understand. And then, one night, your partner force executes a mission without your input. They clear a compound, detain a target, and return without a single friendly casualty. You don't congratulate them. They don't need it. They know what they did. You pack your gear and move to the next village. The cycle repeats. Level 4, 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Nightstalkers. You fly when no one else can. Your aircraft are modified with advanced avionics, terrain-following radar, and infrared countermeasures. You train in zero illumination conditions, flying with night vision goggles that turn the world green, but also remove depth perception. You learn to trust your instruments more than your eyes. You learn to trust your crew chief more than yourself. The mission is always the same. Get them in, get them out. The Passengers are the most valuable assets the nation possesses. You don't know their names. You don't ask. You know their call signs and their timelines. You put them on the target with an error margin of seconds. Then you wait, orbiting in the dark, listening to the radio traffic and trying not to think about what happens if they don't make it back to the pickup point. Nightstalkers don't quit. It's not a slogan. It's a description of the moment when an engine fails at low altitude and you have 3 seconds to auto-rotate onto a surface you can't see. It's the reality of taking fire and continuing inbound because the men on the ground need ammunition, not evasive maneuvers. You are the quiet rotors in the night. You are the reason the impossible happens. Level 5, DEVGROUP, SEAL Team 6. The name is a brand now, but inside the command, it's just work. You were a SEAL for years before you even applied. You had deployments, combat actions, a reputation. Then you went through selection and realized you knew nothing. The assessment is continuous. Every evolution, every training scenario, every mission is evaluated. You never stop being screened. Your assault teams are small, fast, and equipped with technology that doesn't exist in the civilian world. You practice room clearing until the movements are instinctive. You practice scenarios that seem impossible until you've done them 100 times. Maritime interdiction, vertical assault, subterranean penetration. You train for the things that keep conventional planners awake at night. The Bin Laden raid defined the unit for the public. For you, it was a mission like any other. High risk, high consequence, executed with precision. The difference was the world was watching, even if they didn't know it yet. You don't think about history. You think about the next door, the next target, the next extraction. History is for people who aren't still in the fight.
Level 6, Navy SEALs, the teams. You came through buds during winter, which meant the water was cold enough to make your bones ache. Hell Week was 5.5 days of misery that you still can't fully describe. You learned that your mind would quit long before your body. You learned to ignore your mind. You graduated with a class half the size of the one that started. The guys who quit aren't failures, they just didn't want it enough. You did. You operate from the sea, but that's just the insertion. The real work happens inland. You patrol for days, observing enemy movements, calling in strikes, occasionally conducting direct action raids. Your primary weapon is stealth. You move so slowly that you become part of the terrain. You watch through your scope as the enemy walks past, oblivious. You wait. Patience is a weapon. The brotherhood is real, but it's not sentimental. It's the knowledge that the man next to you will do anything to get you out of a bad situation. It's the unspoken agreement that you will do the same. You don't talk about it. You don't need to. You just train, deploy, and do it again. The water is always cold. The night is always dark. You are always ready. Level 7, 24th Special Tactics Squadron. You were Air Force, but you don't fly. You are the first one on the ground and the last one out. You control the sky from the dirt. Combat controllers are the smallest population in special operations, but the most decorated per capita. You carry a rucksack that weighs more than some people. Inside is everything you need to talk to aircraft, treat trauma, and fight alongside the Army's finest. Your relationship with the Rangers is symbiotic. They provide the muscle, you provide the air. When they take fire, you bring down fire that makes their problems disappear. You talk to pilots at 20,000 feet, guiding them onto targets with a laser that only they can see. You do it while moving, while shooting, while treating a wounded soldier. Multitasking is not a skill, it's a survival mechanism. You've been everywhere. The peaks of Afghanistan, the deserts of Iraq, the jungles of the Philippines. You've jumped into combat, landed in the dark, and established landing zones in terrain that maps don't accurately represent. You are the quiet professional in the chaos. The Air Force calls you Special Tactics. The Army calls you a miracle worker. You call it Tuesday. Level 9, Marine Raiders, MARSOC. You are a Marine, which means you were already elite before you volunteered for this. The Corps builds a certain mindset, discipline, aggression, loyalty. MARSOC takes that foundation and adds complexity. You learn to work with partner forces, to advise instead of assault, to think politically as well as tactically. Your teams are small, adaptable, and self-sufficient. You deploy to places where the United States isn't officially present. You train local forces, gather intelligence, and conduct raids when necessary. The line between advisor and operator blurs constantly. One moment you're teaching marksmanship, the next you're in a firefight alongside the men you trained. The Raider name carries weight. The original Marines who fought in the Pacific understood something about asymmetrical warfare. They used speed, surprise, and violence of action to overcome larger forces. You do the same, but your tools are better. Night vision, suppressed weapons, real-time intelligence. The enemy never sees you coming. That's how it should be. Level 9, Intelligence Support Activity. The activity, you don't exist. Your unit was created in secret, funded through black budgets, and staffed by people who have no official record. You were the eyes before the assault. You insert months ahead of the operators, blending into the local population, living a lie so convincing that you sometimes forget the truth. Your tradecraft is impeccable. You learn languages in weeks, not years. You memorize patterns of life, identify vulnerabilities, and map every route in and out of the target area. You never carry a weapon that can be traced. You never make a move that draws attention. You are a ghost in a crowded city, watching, waiting, reporting. When the operators finally arrive, you hand them a complete picture. You tell them where the guards change, which doors are unlocked, which windows are alarmed. You fade away before the shooting starts. They will never know your name. That's the point. You are the reason the mission succeeds, and you will never be thanked. You don't need thanks. You need the next target.